Welcome to Tiger Wolf. I'm Josh, and this is David.
Please be aware, this podcast contains strong language and spoilers. Where do you think they fall? I'm pretty sure it's
I'm not
Skyward
really
Sword
in for this to talk about the timeline. I just
and
wanted to bitch
Breath
about
of the
Ganon.
Wild.
I think,
Alpha and Omega.
I think right now, if they've started looking into this as a more complete timeline of story, because over the years they've developed it to be a reincarnation type of thing. I feel like there's a good chance their intent is that Breath of the Wild is the end and Skyward Sword is the beginning.
It's just what falls in between. The arguments.
But at the same time, we're not at a point at the end of Breath of the Wild to necessarily say that it is the end. And that's what I was trying to convey, is that with what we have recently done a little bit of research into learn here, is that in Skyward Sword, the Demon King's consciousness is sealed in the Master Sword.
Mm-hmm.
If it is still there, even though we defeated Ganon by destroying him, as you made your strong claim earlier here, is that it was destroy versus defeat.
Yeah.
That consciousness is still in the sword.
Yeah.
Which means that I think as long as that consciousness is still in the sword, he can be revived.
What if the consciousness? What if we see the consciousness in almost every game?
Extrapolate.
Shadow Link.
No, I don't think that's what Shadow Link is. I think Shadow Link is the embodiment of Link overcoming his fears, overcoming all of the all of himself, the inside things that are potentially preventing him from being able to complete his mission.
Defeat Ganondorf.
And also, if you look at it,
falling from the sky.
Is he in?
I think there's a Shadow Link in that one. I think there was.
I don't think there was. Anyway,
I don't know. It and Ocarina are basically the same.
You get the outfit for Shadow Link in Breath of the Wild. It's not even an enemy, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, there's. I feel like there was a missed opportunity there.
I think it might. I mean, if we look at this from the story perspective, it doesn't necessarily not make sense.
Yeah,
he's already done the first fight with Ganon and everything, lost, and then slept. He might have already fought Shadow Link.
Maybe that's what took the 100 years.
Fighting Shadow Link?
Yeah. Overcoming the regrets of failing his friends and failing Zelda and failing the country as a whole.
I think that's just what his cryopod was set to.
Fix the failure. It's like a crock pot.
We'll give him 100 for Ganon to get pussy ass weak. That fight was garbage. That fight was garbage. It's basically like, as long as you do the story, you don't have to have a fight at the end of the game. Well,
it was very, very anticlimactic. Very.
I mean, it was fairly climatic. The fight itself wasn't. The Lino I fought before Ganon was a harder fight. And it wasn't even that hard because I had learned their
You're used to their attack pattern. You're like, yep, there you go.
It took not being afraid one time of the Lino and just going, I'm going to just fucking fight you instead of trying to land on your back and hit you in the back.
We're going to do this another way.
Yeah, we're going to do this the proper way. And I was like, oh, this ain't that bad. But it required skill and accuracy of that skill.
Yeah.
Ganon's fight did not.
No, it didn't at all.
The only challenge of it was learning what the fuck I had to do.
Yeah. Because they weren't very
clear.
Yeah.
That I had to use the shield counterattack to shoot the beam back at him. And shit like that.
Yeah. Or use any of the camel's lightning.
Yeah. I mean, it was And then also they take his half of his HP down. Like that was the only thing they could think of that they could do to help you. Maybe like I don't know. I guess they didn't want to make it required because they had the option of if you didn't save them, you had to fight them first.
Yeah.
But let me guess just something here. You could still have done this with both of those options. It's just make it so there's seals that you can't get through. Like there's barriers that you can't get through.
Yeah.
And that's what those were for, was to break those barriers. Either you go save them and it breaks those barriers, or when you go fight, if you go straight to fighting Ganon, you have to break through those barriers by fighting them there.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's everybody else got a giant mech. Why didn't Link get a giant mech?
Because no one loves Link.
They couldn't even give me one of my own horses.
Actually, for that matter,
no one loves Link.
That's not true.
Everybody
the
loves
women
Link.
who love Link tend to die.
That's not fair. Zelda never dies.
Zelda never really loves Link, I don't think.
Damn.
In two of my favorite games.
Marion doesn't die?
Two of my favorite games I can think of.
Saria doesn't die?
Saria becomes a sage.
Yeah.
That's basically death.
No.
So does Ruda, who is in love with Link. And oh, wait, the Zora chick, Mempha, oh, wait, she died too in Breath of the Wild.
What about, wasn't Marion the Epona's?
Epona's,
yeah, didn't she have a thing for him?
I think so. I think that's who ends up becoming I think that's who he ends up with in that timeline.
I think Zelda's who he ends up with in that timeline.
I don't. Maybe in Breath of the Wild, he finally probably gets with Zelda. Finally. After, how long?
Well, I mean, I don't...
How many reincarnations? Wait, don't answer that question.
Well, I think he's kind of got to.
Yeah, I think it's that...
That end scene made it feel like Link was like, all right.
This is it. This is the time.
Also, they had no explanation whatsoever for Zelda's just coming back out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was... I mean, even...
I'm guessing, like, you defeated... But you didn't... Like, she's the one that finished it.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not even just that you defeated Ganon and now she's free.
No. She was... Like, they make it out like she is there at the castle, somehow still alive, somehow still very young, holding Ganon in the castle. After going and taking the Master Sword to the Lost Woods and having people take Link's body to the Shrine of Resurrection, she goes back to try to stop Ganon all by herself and just locks him in the castle with the power she has. She can't stop him because he's not weakened, but she can stop him from walking outside. He's like a reverse vampire. In most vampire lore, you have to invite them into your house. She's not inviting him out into the world.
She uninvited him to the world?
Yes, she unfriended him.
She revoked his invitation to the party?
Yes.
Everything about that game was so good in a lot of different ways. Like, not necessarily the best it could be in many ways, but everything about that game was good, except for that end was really weak.
Yeah, I really liked. I did most of the stories for dealing with the divine beasts and the champions. Like, I think you did one.
Yeah, I did the first one, the elephant.
You did the elephant, but like the stories the interactions dealing with the champions who had lost their fights. Most of it, I was like, okay, I really like this character. The only one that I was like, well, maybe if you, like, I yelled at the TV. Well, maybe if you hadn't been such a wimp and lost the first time around, we wouldn't be here. is the Ruda.
Yeah, he's kind of a jerk.
I was like, oh, Mr. Arrogant, can't do your job. Hey, I died fighting. You got stabbed in the back because you weren't paying attention.
I digress. So back on the topic of Ganon, because that's where I'm most disappointed. Here's some of the reason why I'm not sure that these two games, while they may be the bookends of a Zelda story timeline, are not the bookends for all of the Zelda games.
Okay.
Basically saying that there's maybe a much more decisive separation
Then
between
Ocarina of
these
Time.
two and pretty much most of everything else.
Okay.
And that is just actually kind of works out that Breath of the Wild would be game 2.
The second one?
Yes. There's no pig Ganon in Skyward Sword.
There's also no Ganon in Skyward Sword.
Demise is Ganon-like.
Yes.
Ganondorf-like.
Visually, he's very reminiscent of a Ganondorf.
What I'm saying is that him, his consciousness being removed from his otherwise being, created Ganon and Ganondorf. That's the resurrection of the rest of him.
Okay.
In Breath of the Wild, he goes from this monstrous thing to a giant pig Ganon.
Yes. Which kind of makes no sense. There's no reference to the pig Ganon. Except, well, yeah, there is. There's the silhouette you see in the beginning.
Yeah, and well, the smoky trail thing has like a pig head to it, boar head to it.
That's what I was...
But that said, in most of the original games and like oracles and things like that, pig Ganon is a pig humanoid.
Yeah.
And then you have Ganondorf, who I think he starts showing up in Ocarina of Time.
I believe that's the first time we see Ganondorf.
Which is the humanoid version. And then he has a pig form he goes into.
Yeah, which is... The art for is terrifying. Looking back at it now in the graphics that were then, not so much.
Honestly, I really liked the design for it.
Yeah, I like the
It was
design
like a
for it. It's just
minotaur.
not as terrifying as I
It was a
remember.
minotaur. Yes, it was a minotaur.
I don't...
No heavy size here.
I don't have...
And then in Wind Waker, he goes from what's called Ganon, but it's kind of like this weird spidery monster thing, to Ganondorf when you fight him. But it's the same concept of Skyward Sword in general, is that the world was sealed below the water.
Okay.
And just like in Skyward Sword, the world's sealed below
a cloud barrier.
the sky. Yeah. Which is interesting. I didn't actually think about that before I said it. It was interesting. But Skyward Sword is Demise and that weird giant shadow monster thing.
The Imprisoned.
Yeah.
Which actually, the Imprisoned is Demise before it eats Zelda's soul.
To regain his form.
Yeah, to regain his form as Demise.
The manga thing we read at the end of the 25-year anniversary book.
Yeah.
Shows him before that all like Hylia sends people up into the sky, and he's the Demise form that is later in Skyward Sword.
Yeah,
after the giant thingy.
Demon.
I think he's
Demise.
imprisoned in that form, so that he can't really do his thing.
Probably. But I mean, it just, like we've talked, I think this is probably the 4th or 5th time we've had discussion dealing with the timeline in Zelda.
Yeah. There was just one more thing I wanted to hit. Twilight Princess. He goes from a very badass Ganondorf, like very regal looking, to a bestial pig, four-legged pig, monster,
which I noted was very, very reminiscent of the one in Breath of the Wild.
Yes,
visually.
Yes, but they also keep the style very similar
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. So I just find that all very interesting. Like, yeah, I could see that, you know, our timeline's not obviously going to go from one to the other in a straight line. If these are the bookends, then we're looking at sometime over the course of these iterations, he's become more and more pig-like. Don't know what that has to do with anything other than boars are ravenous creatures.
That's probably it. I mean, especially if we take the fact that, like we said, his consciousness was sealed in the sword, leaving literally pretty much just his hate and malice, which in Breath of the Wild, they say that's what Calamity Ganon is. It is the embodiment of hate and malice.
That's actually what they show the last form as being, is hate and malice.
Yeah.
Which is the boar form.
Yeah, large.
But the interesting part about that is
boar.
all the Ganondorfs have been very, usually like decisive, thoughtful people.
Decisive, thoughtful, very ruthless.
I don't know if I would really say that about the Wind Waker Ganondorf. He was fairly
That's
ruthless,
fair.
but I mean, he didn't have a lot of time to be ruthless before I
buried your sword in his forehead.
Yes. It's probably my favorite kill. It's probably my favorite kill of Ganon in all of them. And that's another reason why it was so disappointing for Breath of the Wilds. And
Yeah.
it was like it was so impersonal in every single way.
Here's a bow, shoot it.
It's like, you defeated me
times.
100 years ago. I should be more brutal about this, but honestly, I kind of feel bad for you.
Here's a bow, shoot it 8 times.
Right.
Okay, now Zelda is going to be like, oh, goodbye.
Right.
Which, I mean, to be fair, it's kind of about time. If Breath of the Wild is the bookend, it's kind of time for Zelda to be like, you know what? We're done.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they just introduced the concept of Hylia being her predecessor.
Ganon is basically that annoying ex-boyfriend to Link. That Zelda's like, no, you need to go away.
But she still lives at the castle with him. Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. And I mean, there are certain aspects that we can.
Yeah, but I mean, there's the whole like Hylia thing, right?
Yeah.
So Hylia was a goddess created by the 3 goddesses that created the world.
Yeah.
To protect their heritage or some shit like that.
They went to do something else.
They went to get the fuck out of there because they knew what the fucking negative space was.
We did it. All right, let's go. Yeah, unlike other gods we know about who are like, we did it. Where'd it go?
Yeah, well, and then Hylia creates the Master Sword.
Picks a random knight guy to be her chosen hero.
He was the most courageous one.
Yeah.
So he got
he's the thing.
He got the Triforce piece for that. But it didn't really explain how Demise, I guess, ends up with
power.
Right.
Unless that's like
But she reincarnates herself basically as Zelda and then is, continued to be reborn just like Link is.
Yep.
And Ganon. But so why would it take so long for her to find Hylia again? Because in all these other ones, I mean, some of them don't even have Zelda in them. She doesn't know anything about Hylia. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand these games were created first before these concepts were introduced. I understand that, like, this construct of this story wasn't fully constructed at that time.
They didn't write all the books before releasing the first one.
Exactly. I get that. But at the same time, there's no indication after the fact.
Yeah.
Either. The only indications we have anything about Hylia is Lake Hylia.
The Great Bridge of Hylia. The
only things that we have for the dragons are one, that they're in Breath of the Wild, and that there are areas named kind of after them.
Yeah. Elbin,
And actually, most of those are like Eldin, Lanrayer, and the other one. Those are named after the gods.
Mhm.
Eldin is something, and then Din. Lanrayer is La, and then Narayu. And then I don't remember what the other one was.
I think that one's the same, actually. Or maybe
I think
it
it's
might
something
be
at the
an
end of
A
it.
at the end.
Which is interesting,
But I mean,
especially when you consider what the areas are named in Breath of the Wild. I'm gonna have to look at that map again.
it just
Like it feels like they just they constructed a better narrative based off of these terms and names that they've been using.
yeah.
Which is fine. Like that's the evolution of storytelling, basically. But it'd be nice if we could look at this and say there's clear hooks here, even if they weren't intended, or
Would you prefer
like you can
that?
create the hooks
Yeah.
based off of implications and stuff like that.
Yeah, like the Phi or Fee being referenced in Breath of the Wild and actually speaking to Zelda.
What about it?
The fact that there's a direct link
Oh,
between it and Skyward Sword.
well, yeah, that's because I mean they did that intentionally.
Would you be opposed?
Like I'm okay with the fact that the Master Sword hasn't spoken in all this time because Fee's been fighting Demise.
Would you be opposed to Demise winning and corrupting, say, Breath of the Wild's Link, and then a new hero having to rise up? Say, a reincarnation of Ganon.
I think that it would be more appropriate to be that Demise corrupts the sword and it becomes Ganon's sword in reincarnations. And it becomes just like the whole
A
symbolism
monstrous-
of what this is flips, basically. I think that would be cool. It corrupting Link and Link basically being the new Ganon they're not going to do that for one.
No, they
It's
wouldn't.
just not going to happen.
I
Like the
was- that's
sword
why I said,
thing
would you be
could happen. The sword thing could happen, but they're not going to corrupt Link.
I don't know. They already made him right-handed. Yeah, I'm still salty leaving
You can be
alone.
salty as fuck as much as you fucking want. When you're talking about motion controls, it makes sense.
It does. I'm not saying it didn't.
And then because of that, it became the norm.
I'm not saying it did make sense because of motion controls. I understand that. I'm still salty.
And because of that, it became the norm.
Like I said, it makes
Twilight
sense.
Princess is my favorite one.
It makes perfect sense. The GameCube version of Twilight Princess is literally flipped for Link to be left-handed. They literally just mirrored the entire game.
Right, because there wasn't it motion controls for the Wii version? I assume
Yes.
so. I know it was more involved for the Skyward Sword.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't...
Is there a GameCube version of Skyward Sword?
No.
That's why I can't really get into it.
There's Wii and Wii U. I mean, like I said, I understand why they made him right-handed. Like, I understand it. I'm just still salty about it. Left-handed people don't have a lot of heroes.
Over the ages anyway. Maybe he'll be left-handed again in the future.
No, he won't. They'll never make him left-handed again.
They probably will. They probably will. Let me look at the thingy. Talk about something, David.
I mean... All right, so... What's the... Would you find it odd if he was... We'll say Link doesn't become corrupted, but let's go there with the idea that the sword gets corrupted.
Okay.
If the sword gets corrupted, would Link still be able to wield it?
No, I think that's the point, is he wouldn't be able to.
So he'd have to find a new weapon.
Yeah. And like that would be a cool adventure to have to go on to go create a new epic level weapon.
A new
Something that's going to be...
sword of legend.
Yes.
Sword that seals the darkness. Sacred sword. Legendary sword. Master sword.
Some of those things come with the experiences applied to the sword. Some of those things come with the creation of the sword. So, like, you would probably have to find the master craftsman, Goron, more than likely, to create it for you. You probably have to find somebody to help him make it that can imbue magic into it, or divinity, or some shit like that.
Probably,
other than Zelda.
Probably
Impa?
a Impa or a priest of one of...
Like a Rudo or a Zora, or maybe
one of each, because
that's what I was going to say.
You have Garuda representing Den. You have the Zora representing... Naru, and the Ruda representing Furor. You have to get imbued by all of them and then go to Zelda at the very end and get it imbued. And then you go, actually, that'd probably be the halfway mark. Now that I've got the sword, now I got to go fight Ganon. I got to get to Ganon to fight Ganon. Left-handed.
Yeah, so he's left-handed right up until Skyward Sword. Every one of these art bits, he is left-handed in except for Skyward Sword.
Yep, and then since Skyward Sword, he's been right-handed.
How many games have we had since Skyward Sword?
3. I think 3. Or did Spirit Tracks
Main
come
games
out?
has only been 1. Spirit Tracks is in line with Phantom Hourglass. Yeah, Spirit Tracks is out.
Okay.
2009.
I couldn't remember if it came out before or after Skyward Sword.
I don't know. I didn't look up that information.
I mean, right there, it's Spirit Tracks 2009, Skyward Sword 2011.
I understand that. That doesn't mean there wasn't another. There's been at least one other.
I feel like
they remade A Link to the Past or something like that.
Link Between Worlds.
Yeah,
that's what it's called.
No, there's another one too.
Oh, well, that one I think he's right-handed in, and then he's right-handed in Breath of the Wild. He's right-handed in Skyward Sword. Like I said, and he's right-handed in the Wii version of Twilight Princess, which, like I said, I understand why they made him right-handed for the motion-controlled ones. I do. But there's no motion control for, not like there is for the Wii or Wii U for Breath of the Wild. You don't control the sword swing.
Maybe it's just the same. It's the same Link, though.
They're all the same Link.
Except in less of what I was saying before.
I know what you mean. I'm just...
But if you go by what I was saying before, they're not.
Your argument makes a more valid point for it to be a separate Link.
Right. We know that this is directly in line with Skyward Sword.
Which is why both of them are left-handed. Or right-handed, sorry. Whereas, everyone else is left-handed.
And I wouldn't count Hyrule Warriors, whether it is or isn't anyway.
It's not canon, but he's right-handed in it. It's really fun, though. But, I mean, I enjoy that. I enjoy Dynasty Warriors. So, it kind of explains why it's fun to me. Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, Dynasty Warriors, Gundam, Hyrule Warriors. But, yeah, I think that would be an interesting one. The sword finally getting corrupted and it becoming Ganon's sword, and you, as the new Link of the era, have to go and get or
even
make a
Ganon
new sword.
actually gets the sword before Link does.
Yeah, which causes you to have to go and make a sword that can stand against it. I think I'd enjoy that game. That's probably not where they're going, but I think I would enjoy that.
I mean, it might be with a lot of the theme that includes a lot of the themes that we saw in this most recent one, and themes that we see throughout the series of like having to get these people to work together in some way, shape, or form for things. Like in Ocarina of Time, where you have to get the sages,
and
stuff like that. And the sages are all different people, like different races and everything too.
Yeah. Excuse me.
This is a hard list to get because there's a lot of re-releases.
Yeah. I think in most of the re-releases, the weapon is in the same hand as the original release.
Yeah, because like the animations and that are probably all the same. It's just the art that's updated.
Yeah. We are getting that re-release of was it Link's Awakening?
Yes. This year?
Yeah. And then there's, another Zelda in development. But, Nintendo, they're super secretive.
This is not easy to do on my phone. Yeah, well, I'll definitely have to look into that and see. But I don't think that they will be solid on making him always right-handed from now on.
If he is left-handed in the...
Oh, in Breath of the Wild, they may have been planning motion controls. It has the capability.
Yeah, true.
So that might have been why he ended up right-handed, and then they were like, well, maybe we'll not do that. So it's not too much like Skyward Sword or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they just kept a lot of the animations and stuff.
Yeah. Wow, that went by a lot faster than I expected it to.
You wanna call this one? We'll probably continue talking about Zelda. We've probably talked about Zelda before. Honestly, I don't know. I don't remember, but we'll definitely continue this conversation in another episode. Tell us what your thoughts are. What do you think about the timelines and that, especially ones introduced in the 25-year anniversary, even though it doesn't include Breath of the Wild because obviously it was created before that.
Well, I suppose that's the end of the episode.
Please like, comment, follow, and share. And also, more importantly, thank you for listening.
Take care. Bye.